Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic Orthodoxy. My name's David and this is a deck review. Today we're going to look at the one-way forcing deck from Penguin Magic. Now, if you don't know, a forcing deck is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It is a deck that forces a card on your spectator, and a one-way forcing deck would mean that there's only one card to force. So you're looking at an entire deck made up of 52 cards that are the exact same card all the way through the deck. Now, my particular deck here is a Six of Spades. I have another deck here that's a Queen of Hearts. I don't know if I need to show it to you, but again, it's an entire deck of the same card. And I find that a forcing deck is good, and just for a couple of reasons. And the first, I would address any of the questions people saying, all you got to do is just be good at your craft. You just have to be a good magician, and then you don't need a forcing deck. Okay, I understand that, and I hear you, but that's not always the case. I find that forcing a card typically includes some sort of routine. When you force a card, unless you're doing the classic force, it usually involves some kind of unfair banter. You got two stacks, and you say pick left or right, and then you're doing some sort of equivoque on your spectator. You'll say point to a stack, or you say I'm flipping through the cards and just say stop. Those are kind of unfair pick a card routines. They're not normal, okay? That is, if you were really truly giving your spectator a fair shot at a card, you should be able to just fan the cards and say pick anyone you like. Or, better yet, to not even hold them, but to fan through them on the table and just have any card selected and drawn out. That to me would be a fair shot. And I think that sometimes in a trick where you don't want to have so much heat on the picking the card aspect, and you have another element that there's going to be some heat placed on, you don't want the heat placed in two places. And so I think in particular there are some effects where you want your spectator to just pick a card, you want them to take that card, and then just put this deck away and not even think about it anymore. Another area that I think a one-way forcing deck is a good place would be someplace like on stage, or maybe even in a bar, where you might have some people who would try to mess you up. Okay, you know those people. You say pick a card, and they reach in for a card, not what you wanted. And now you realize, oh no, my force is screwed up, or they try to shove it back in a place where it's completely lost, and you really don't even know where they put it, and now you kind of feel like the trick is ruined. For the most part, you don't need to worry about a deck like this because most lay people will never assume that a deck like this even exists. And so I find that if you're on stage, or maybe if you're in a bar or someplace where you think that there might be people that might try to mess with you or screw with you, having a one-way deck is just a great way to kind of get that off and going in a very simple and very natural way of forcing a card. Just a couple of tips when you use a forcing deck from me. Always have an indifferent card on the bottom, just so that you're able to flash the bottom of the deck as you speak. And so if you have something that's very memorable on the bottom, like a King of Spades or an Ace of Spades, they'll see that, and then as you fan and they pull a different card, they're never going to assume that the card was actually all through the entire deck. Another really fun thing to do, put two jokers in the deck, and with the cards facing you, just say real quick, I'm going to remove the jokers and put those on the table. Just the fact that you've gone through that kind of reinforces the idea that this is probably a real deck. And another thing, don't be afraid to shuffle the cards. Shuffle the cards multiple times. Give the spectator this assurance that that you're giving them a shuffled deck and that they get a free choice of any card. My last tip, or my last piece of advice, would be this deck shouldn't be the trick. This is not a magic trick, okay? If you just force the card and then reveal it, then the heat is now back on the deck where you don't want it to be, okay? I'm using this deck for my prediction, and then the entire deck after I do that is just going to go away, and I'm going to bring out something else. I want my spectator to forget this deck and not even to remember that it even existed by the time the trick is over. You wouldn't use a thumb tip for a removing the thumb trick, would you? You wouldn't hold the thumb and say, look, I removed my thumb. Gaffs and magic tools like this are not meant to be seen, okay? They are tools, not magic tricks in and of themselves. So that's how I would use them. Like I said, I got my cards at Penguin Magic, and if you go to purchase them, you can get rider backs in red or blue. You can also get them in any face card you like. So if you go through some of the tricks that maybe you own now, you realize that some of those tricks involve you to force a specific card, and perhaps the instructions just say, force this card, and you have no indicator how to do it. A one-way forcing deck could be a great way to do that. Another reason why you might want to get a forcing deck like this is it can also help you to make gaff cards. It could also help you create your own forcing decks. I bought 2 decks, particularly because I'm going to take half out of each, and I'm going to put them together to make a 2-way forcing deck of 2 cards that I use specifically in one trick. I'm actually taking a so-so effect that I've had for quite a long time, and I'm going to turn it into a real brain scrambler just through the idea of introducing a forcing deck. So like I said before, you can get these decks at penguinmagic.com. You can get them in any face that you desire, and they're really pretty inexpensive and a worthwhile tool. I highly recommend it.